Welcome to the September 17th meeting of the Student Safety and Wellbeing Advisory Committee. I'm pleased that each of you is present, and please just confirm for me we do have a quorum. And so the meeting is now called to order. Our first order of business is to approve the agenda. It was sent out to you earlier, and I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any need for discussion? There being none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
If you're opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Our first item under new business is our first quarter public input session, fourth quarter public input session, I should say. We need to determine a date, and we need to determine a mode of operation. Let me just simply say that having had the Zoom meeting the last time, I don't know who wants to go back to in-person. And so the floor is open for any kind of conversation about the fourth quarter. We need a date, and we need an agreement on whether or not we're going to be in person or on Zoom. And of course, we want to, you can see that we have suggested the 16th. We are suggesting that we have it by Zoom or Microsoft Teams at 6 p.m. on the same date. Now, that's the night after the regular meeting. And so, that being on the table, any discussion? First of all, does that date in the evening work for you at 6 p.m.?
That's a Thursday, if I, is it a Thursday?
Yes.
Yeah. Correct. I'll have work, but I can make it happen.
Okay, the night after our regular meeting,
October 16th.
yes. Okay, and are we in agreement then we'll do it on Microsoft Teams?
Yes.
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 Okay, then we'll act by consensus and move forward in that regard. We are very pleased, our colleague, Debbie Harris has insisted that we have to hear from our early childhood cohort, and so she has leaned on the chair for the last 3 or 4 months on making sure that this happens, and so.
Amen, thank you.
So since I was about to fall, I decided that we should go ahead and bring you forth. But we're very pleased today to have Diana Adams, Karen Jordan, and Nadia Gray available, and they represent respectively Hippie / Healthy Families, the Judy Center, and Head Start. Would you please come forward? Okay. Ladies, thank you for being here. We are cognizant of schedules because we have other things to do, just as you, and other business we have to take care of. But I would ask that you attempt to leave your individual presentations to about 10 minutes and leave some time so that we can ask some questions. And so, having not known each of you, if you would introduce yourselves as you present, and then we can move forward. I know we're going to be joined by a third party, and so please feel free to start.
Well, I'm Karen Jordan. I need the mic. I was just gonna use my outside voice. I'm Karen Jordan. I'm the program coordinator for the Judy Center.
Mm-hmm.
And my name is Nadia
Gray. I'm the Head Start Education and Program Specialist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you-
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Diana Adams. I'm the program coordinator for HIPPY, and that stands for Home Instruction for Parents of Preschool Youngsters. Healthy Families and Parents as Teachers Home Visiting Programs here for Calvert County Public Schools. Thank you for this opportunity to share a little information about the program and the great work that we have been doing for more than 25 years here in Calvert County.
Okay. As we have it in our order, you lead the presentations, and we'd ask that
Yeah,
you.
I knew it was a mistake to marry Mr. Adams. Just kidding. Okay, first up, we have our first slide.
It's the down button.
Down button. Okay. All right, so there, we'll follow along in the slides. We'll just talk a little bit about home visiting here in Calvert County. And I just always like to ask this question, but I kind of already gave you the answer. How long has, oh, this thing is just advancing on its own. So, thank you. Thank you very much. How long have we been around? I just shared. 25 years, so we're actually going into our 26th year here in Calvert County. We're very, very excited to be getting kicked off with our families. We start home visiting with them in a little less than 2 weeks, so we are grateful for that opportunity. Let's see. All right, so I have a little agenda. Can we go right into the introduction? I think it's on this one. I'm trying to get this to you. Advancing the slides, thank you. So we started as going back to the introduction. We started in 1999 through a partnership from Calvert County Family Network and Calvert County Public Schools, and to date we have 3 nationally recognized and evidence-based programs. And our goal today is to ensure that community members, as well as the board here, advisory board, is aware of what it is that we do here in Calvert. Okay, our HIPPY program is only one of 2 in the entire state of Maryland currently. The programs have been expanding, but as of today, there's only 2 programs, and Calvert has luckily has had their program here for 25 years, 26 years. Our Healthy Families,
Yeah. It keeps advancing.
It keeps advancing by itself, yeah.
Life of its own.
Okay, yeah. No, pass there. Yep, thank you. Our Healthy Families program is a fully accredited subsidiary of Prevent Child Abuse America, and that is based out of Chicago. And our Parents as Teachers affiliate recently completed our Blue Ribbon designation for a national program from Pat National, and we are excited to have that designation. The average length of our home visitors that have been with our program has been 7 years, so some of them come to us formally as HIPPY parents, Healthy Families parents, and then we are able to recruit from the community within. Our program provides a continuum of services to children prenatal to age 5 before they go to school. So our interaction with them is to help get them ready to get them to the school door, is what I like to say when I'm introducing the programs. I've included a small timeline. I won't hold you all to everything, but I will tell you that we were able to continue services to families during the period of COVID when schools were shut down, and we were able to actually maintain over 75% retention of those families, and because we were the ones that were going out, knocking on the doors, checking on everyone.
This seems to be a timed presentation.
Okay, no problem.
No, I'm just saying it. I don't.
Okay, next
know how
slide,
it
we're
was
at the
set up.
5
Yeah.
W's of home visiting: who, what, where, when, and why. Slide number 8, please. It talks a little bit about what we do as it pertains to healthy families, how we serve families prenatal to age 3. We are part of Prevent Child Abuse America, and the program is designed to work to mitigate the factors that may lead to the neglect and abuse of children. We conduct weekly visits. Next slide, 10. We talk a little bit about what we believe in healthy families as it pertains to positive parenting practices and to mitigate factors that may lead to an abuse and maltreatment of children. Slide number 11, please. Our parents as teachers, we were able to add that to our program 5 years ago. And in our PAT model, again, we go out on a weekly basis and we work with the families. On a weekly basis, we work with the families on a weekly basis when we're first getting to know them. And once we've established that trusting, bonded relationship, we then reduce down to twice a month. The idea is, again, is to give the families an opportunity to take the information that we share with them about baby's growth and development and put it into practice. I can talk to you till I'm blue in the face, but until I know you can do it, then I know you can do it. So we give them that opportunity. Next slide, please. Our approach is to partner with our parents, facilitate, and reflect. So that's what I'm talking about, why we initially, when we're getting to know them, we go in early and intensely, and then we reduce down. The last program is HIPPY, and HIPPY is particularly special to me because I am a former HIPPY parent. I am the model for which the national organization is looking for. You start out, you are participating, you become a home visitor, and you move up. So I'd like to say that my kiddos and I, we are really excited, and I can tell you about the long-reaching impact for HIPPY. Of my 3 children, 2 of them went through the program. One is now a nurse at Hopkins, and the other one is currently working in banking. And I attribute that to those early experiences with HIPPY because we got into, the home visitor came to the door every week. She checked on us. We did our designated prescriptive curriculum, and she helped to cultivate a love of reading and learning, which is why we're all here today, right? So that, I'm just letting you know, I this anecdotal, and I apologize, I don't have specific percentages, but I can tell you anecdotally the impact of this program. So I've done all 3 programs, but HIPPY is how I first got introduced to it. So we started in 1999. We are partnered with Head Start as well as the Judy Center, the Judith P. Hoyer Early Learning Hubs, get that name right, and they have been a long-time partners with us. So we don't do this alone. We all do it together. So I just want to speak a little bit on my partners, and I did. We work with families beginning at age 2 with our HIPPY curriculum up to 5. We've had less 5-year-olds as school has required 5-year-olds to be in school, but we still work with those families ages 2 to 4. Next slide. The HIPPY model. Around the world, the model is the same. So if you go to HIPPY US, it's the same as HIPPY Chile, HIPPY in Paraguay, HIPPY in Africa. So HIPPY is all around, it's international, and the model is the same. We come in, we greet the families, we go over the curriculum, make sure they didn't have any questions from the previous week, and then we do the curriculums with the family. And each week, we build on the skills that the family has learned, and when the family leaves our services, whether it's 1 year or 2 years, we prefer 2, but if it's after 1 year, they have at least 9 books. For us specifically here in Calvert County, we make it our business to build those home libraries that the young children need. I think it's super important, not only because your first introduction shouldn't be to the library, shouldn't be when you're getting ready to go to school, but long before that. So we've partnered with the library, Calvert Library, over the years to have events so that families feel comfortable coming to any branch to get those books. And then we think it's important that you have a home library because you should be able to go and get your book at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning if you're not having a good day, or if you're having a great day and you just want to end your day with a book. So we make sure that the families leave with at least 15 books each year. More than that, we have lots of parent opportunities to collect books. So we make it our business so that at least one thing parents don't have to go out and buy unless they really want to is a book for their kid. Next slide. HIPPY's mission is to help parents prepare their children for success in school and beyond, and the model supports parents as their child's first teacher by providing them with the tools, skills, and confidence to teach their young children in their homes. Next slide. If you're following me along, we're past the old Polaroid pictures, but I just want to talk about, we have celebrations that we do One of the ones that we do is Spring into Health. We do invite the families out just about the time the weather begins to break in the spring, after spring break, and we invite them for a day on the playground. I know someone will be like, well, why is that important? Gross motor, fine motor, just getting them out the house after a long winter. So that's one of our very popular ones. We also do a community baby shower because we are always looking for an opportunity to get those new families and start young. So. And then we always do an end of the year celebration, which I'm very excited. That's an old one from 2021, but it's our opportunity to give the parents an opportunity and recognize the families for the work that they have done over the course of the year. Next slide. The way to start is to quit talking and begin doing. Walt Disney. And so I thank the board, in summary, for this chance to talk to you a little bit about what a great resource that we have here in Calvert County. I'd like to always go around and tell people that we've got so many wonderful resources, and I know that when we've gone to other counties and they've asked us about our partnerships and our resources, we've been able to share that with ease. So my parting thoughts is that Healthy Family, we believe that together we can prevent child abuse in America because childhood lasts a lifetime. And HIPPY, a love of learning begins at home. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your attention. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you. Are there any questions?
I think one of the things that came up at the last meeting kind of had to do with, I started my career with these people. So they hold, and Debbie, so they all hold a dear place in my heart. I know the value of early childhood. One of the reasons why early childhood came up was because you have a model that works in working with families in the community. And how do we continue that same model into other years? Like, where's the handoff? What does that look like? So with the schools, with other providers, how after they age out, can they still continue to be connected and feel supported? And to hear that from your perspective and what's worked would be helpful. And this is a good one for Karen too.
Okay.
Karen, I'll let you take it. They've heard from me.
Yeah.
Okay, how to continue the support once children age out of our programs. The community school model is a great way to do that, and I'm happy to say that this year the Patuxent Appeal campus is becoming a community school. So I look very much forward with working with that community school coordinator to braid our programs together, to braid funding where we can, and to have that full continuum of support for families in our school. But we need to be able to perpetuate that to other schools. I hear all the time, and when I get into my presentation, Judy Centers are site-specific. So our grant, we have to be tied to a Title I school. And so when I go out to community events, I'm asked, where is our Judy Center in the north? You know, what is our support line? And last year, the person representing Patty Centers came down to visit us and to ask specifically Judy Center coordinators, where should we put a Patty Center? And we said definitely in the north, because our support does not reach the north because of our requirements. So I would think either the community school model, the Patty Center model, to provide that the continuum of support.
Okay. I have a couple of questions. Okay. How does one become a hippie family?
That is a very easy call. You can look us up on the Calvert County Public School website. You can also go to HIPPY US and go to their .org, and they will take you to the location. We show up when you click the map for Maryland. We also are a phone call away,
All right,
443-550-8050.
So capacity-wise, how many families do you serve?
We currently are able to serve 69 families. However, with the new Judy Center, and Karen's going to talk about that, we'll be able to add 10 to 13 more families. So
Okay.
we are looking for an increase.
Okay, and then do you prioritize who you serve?
That's what it is.
No, we look at the families, the ones that are specifically tied to the Judy Centers. They have to fall within the catchment area. But for the one home visitor that I have, she's trying to serve the families, as many as she can, in the north end of the county. Because of our partnership with Head Start and Judy Center, the central and southern parts of the county are our heaviest area. So our program is not income-based. I don't know if you're asking that specifically. What we are looking for are families who are interested in being a part of this program. We are one of that rare program where income is not a requirement. You have to be domiciled in Calvert, but we will serve you to the best of our abilities. Unfortunately, the number of home visitors I've had has decreased as funding has decreased. But if we get more partnerships and more money, we can reach out. But right now I have one home visitor who currently is serving pretty much North End County down to Prince Frederick.
So you're part of the school system,
Correct.
a home visiting program.
Yes.
Is there any early identification of special needs or any other aspects of need that the family may be incurring? And how do you handle referrals and et cetera?
We handle the referrals on first come, first served basis. However, if we receive a referral from a partner, such as infants and toddlers, and they say this family, because they are working with that family, needs some additional support, we will work our hardest to work them into our caseloads.
Okay, but if the family needs resources beyond what you do, how do they get connected to those resources?
Sorry. We will either refer them to an agency that are subject matter experts or who can provide whatever the family needs. We can't provide everything, but we try to make sure that the families know. So we put the information, we'll give them the contact. We will ask for their signature if we need their consent, if we need to give specifics. So if I need to just talk to Leslie, for example, if we knew that Leslie had a program that was helping dealing with homelessness or unhoused families, and she knew that the family was in her community, I would get their consent to reach out to Leslie. May I reach out to my contact at said agency with your consent so that we can get you specifically what you need? We do provide general, but if it's specific, we will sit down with the family and say, tell us what you need.
All right. Would your, this is my last question.
No
Would
problem.
your personnel be able to identify developmentally delayed issues with children? And if so, what would you do with that?
We do provide screenings, and one of them is the ASQ, which is Ages and Stages Questionnaire 3, as well as the Ages and Stages Social Emotional. If there's a concern that comes up on that ASQ, again, I'm going to use Leslie. Leslie, I want to talk to you a little bit about the screening I just did with you and your child. We have partners that we would like to reach out to. May we have your consent? We have had parents say no.
Okay.
But if it's something specific like that, we're not the subject matter experts. What we are the conduit to get them to where they need to be, and vice versa. Because sometimes infants and toddlers will say, I really think this family would benefit from having this program in their home. And we will ask. The parents, just like everybody in this room, has the right to say no. All I can do is offer it to you. You can say yes or no from there.
I have a question.
Yes.
I know you don't have criteria for enrolling and being part of your program, but do you target or seek families that may be at risk or have greater needs, like working with WIC program or the health department, any of those who seek families to be a part of your program?
We would work with our partners. We work on an annual basis to make sure that our home visitors know who our partners are, that we have an ongoing relationship, or if we need to establish a new relationship. If a family is receiving WIC, it doesn't impact their enrollment in our program, or if we determine that, hey, we think WIC might be a good fit for you, we will work with the families to make sure that they get connected to the subject matter experts. I don't know a lot about WIC. I have adult children. However, I know someone over at WIC who could help them, and that's what I'm saying about getting the families connected to what they need. We have a new McKinney-Vento specialist, McKinney-Vento liaison specialist in the county, and we've been working with her to make sure that she is invited to our events so that she can see what it is that we do. We're working with her to get her to train my staff, because I have some new information around that. I mean, because she's new, that gives her an opportunity. Again, she's the subject matter expert in unhoused families. But what I can do is make sure that the families know this is who you need to talk to. We just spoke with her last week, and she is ready to receive your calls. So again, we want to stay in our lane in terms of what we do, but we want to make sure that the families know that if they come to me, I'm going to get you pointed in the right direction. I'm not going to give you run around. So part of that home visiting too is finding out what the families need. And I'll wrap up because I know I'm over my time limit, but what I would say is during the pandemic, that was where we learned the impact of going in and out of people's homes. So while we were not allowed to go in their homes for safety purposes, we still had the home visitors drive to the homes and say, "Gonna pick on you again, Leslie, just because I know you. Hey, Leslie, I just wanted to drop off the packet. I'm just going to leave it on the front step, but is there anything that I can do for you? Is there anything that you need?" And that's where we found out the power of being connected with your families. That's where we learned families didn't have enough to eat. They needed diapers. They needed formula. It was because we were going out on a weekly basis. Even when we weren't technically going in the homes, we were technically at that front door finding out. And quite a few times home visitors came back and just knocked me off my feet with the stories that this is what the families need. And it was because somebody came to the door. We were all scared. I know that was 5 years ago. We all forgot about it. But that's where we learned the power of connection, the power of touching those lives that we touch through home visiting. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we do have Kadisha Pleger online, and her question was for you, Karen. What is a Patty Center?
So a Patty Center is similar to a Judy Center, but it focuses on parent education, and the child is there in childcare while the parent is receiving that education, be it adult education or specific parenting courses or any type of parenting help.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Oh, I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
real
Mhm.
quick. How many home visitors do you have currently on staff? Do you know how many you have?
Currently, I have 3 part-time home visitors and 3 full-time home visitors, soon to be 4.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Could we please continue then if there are no further questions with Ms. Jordan?
Thank you. As I said, I'm Karen Jordan. I'm the program coordinator for the Judy Center. I'm going to try this clicker, hopefully. Okay, so I'm going to address the elephant in the room first. Who is Judy? Judy Hoyer was an early childhood educator, and it was her dream that became the Judy Centers in Maryland. She envisioned a one-stop shop for parents to get access to other things that they needed that were barriers to education that were non-academic. So it all started with her sketching out something with her friend on a napkin, and upon her death, Congressman Steny Hoyer wrote it into legislation. We started out with 12 Judy Centers. This year, we have 101 Judy Centers in the state of Maryland. So our mission is to provide comprehensive, full-day, full-year support for children aged birth to 5. We are an early intervention program. That means we work with our other early education partners, and we also do the ages and stages, but we work with our partners to make sure that we are observing children and identifying with parents any help that they might need and connecting them to that help. So I wanted to just kind of give you a visual of how we're organized. We report to the Calvert County Public Schools Grants Administrator, and we have we report to the school principal where we are located. So we have a program coordinator, an administrative assistant, and a family resource center at every site to work with families. And I guess this is a good opportunity to say that we are expanding this year. We were at PAC and Calvert Elementary School. During the pandemic, we expanded to Calvert Elementary School, and this year we were successful. Thank you for your collaboration with that, Leslie, in writing the grant for St. Leonard. So we work with parents and children to improve school readiness. And what that means is we want to build trusting relationships with parents as early as possible, prenatally, if possible. We have developmental play groups at every age level, so ideally a parent and their child would start in tummy time and go throughout our levels from cruisers to preschool playgroup to school readiness playgroup. And we would follow them until they get to pre-K. As we are observing them and as we are building those trusting relationships, then we can refer them to our partners for whatever their needs might be. So if while we have a child in playgroups, and infants and toddlers is our partner for all of our playgroups, you know, we notice something, or during the ages and stages questionnaire something comes up, we're able to refer those parents to other services that they might need. We also are required by MSDE to do outreach. Even if we weren't required, we would do it because we want to be out in the community meeting parents. So we're out in the community meeting parents, getting an idea of what they need. When a parent comes to us, the first thing we do is an intake which asks all the questions of what are you interested in? What do you need? What do you want for your child? And so with that information, we're able to recommend certain things. We have HIPPY embedded in all of our Judy centers. We feel very strongly about the HIPPY program and about that home visiting piece. Our home visits are mostly crisis related, but we know that our HIPPY home-based educator is in that home every week delivering that curriculum. So the eligibility thing becomes an issue because whenever we're out in the community, you know, we have to let people know that we are site specific. So your home school has to be PAC or Calvert Elementary or now St. Leonard Elementary. But there are exceptions. So for children with disabilities, wherever they are located in the county, if they are involved with infants and toddlers, then they can access Judy Center programming. So this is what our populations look like. This is what our populations look like at PAC and at CES. And so we support pre-K and kindergarten classrooms, not as much as we used to when I came here 23 years ago, but we still provide things like classroom magazines, help for students who can't afford field trips, things of that nature. Some of our Judy Center services include the Calvert Diaper Bank. During the pandemic, we noticed that a lot of people were needing diapers, and so we wrote the grant to become the diaper bank hub for Calvert County. We do parent workshops. During the pandemic, we also had to answer the question, how are you going to continue to interact with your parents? And so it used to be Cooking with Kara, and now it's Meals with Maya. We partnered with the Maryland Extension Office for Cooking with Kara. It was a virtual cooking class. So we would drop ingredients off every month and then tune in virtually to cook together. Well, after the pandemic ended, that was so popular that we had to continue. And unfortunately, with the closing of SNAP Ed, we are not continuing with University of Maryland Extension, but we have a workaround for that because we knew that that was something that our parents wanted to continue. And in fact, they'll be cooking tonight. So that program started in 2019 and has continued. We do emergency support for families, and I'll say that, you know, I said that a lot of what we do is crisis. We had an incident last night, a tragic incident with a family, and so this morning we're problem solving on what does that family need, what can we do for that family today, and how can we serve them into, throughout their needs. We have a Judy's Closet, which is an area where we keep donated some new clothing. So if parents need clothing for their children as they're growing, and they're always growing, they can come in and make an appointment and shop in Judy's Closet free of charge. Our activity packs are for parents who might work during the day or can't get to us. We can deliver activities to them, not on the curricular level that Hippie does, but still meeting those developmental areas from the early learning standards. When school closes, we continue our services with a summer program for rising kindergarten students and students coming into pre-K. We braid that program with Title I so that everyone can benefit from our summer food programs. And in the past couple of years, PAC has had a STEM camp the first week of our summer program, so we also include those children in our summer food program. So everyone gets breakfast and lunch for the time that we have our summer program. I think I mentioned referrals to community agencies. We work really closely with Hippie, Infants and Toddlers, Head Start. When we see parents who have 3-year-olds and they're looking to maybe get them into a classroom situation, that's one of the things that we do. We know who our 3-year-olds are who are getting ready to they're turning 3 by September 1st. So we make sure that those parents understand when the Head Start application is opening and what needs to happen for them to be a part of that program. So I am beyond pleased to announce our expansion to St. Leonard. That has been 3 years in the making. So we had already hoped for that St. Leonard site. We started our outreach for that site in July, even before we actually turned in the grant. And so already we have 25 families signed up for the St. Leonard Judy Center, and an additional 15 families who are interested in the HIPPY program. So once we hire that HIPPY home-based educator, she's already at her
Okay,
capacity
sweet.
for this year. This is supposed to be our planning year, but like HIPPY, we've been around for 25 years. So we kind of know what we want to happen, and we want it to happen sooner or later. So as soon as, I'm hoping to have staff hired by November 30th. In January, we're going to have mixed age group play groups, just so that we can get to know more families, and families will hear about the play groups and identify themselves and become a part of the Judy Center. But next year will be a full year of services like we have at the other two Judy Centers. Developmental play groups at all levels, infant and toddler involvement in play groups, so that we can perpetuate what we already know is a good program. I did want to add, and I know I'm talking fast because I know my time is up. One of the things we started after the pandemic was a parents group, and it is a moms group. You know, our moms were experiencing some anxiety with children coming back to school. So the behaviorists that we have through the health department said, why don't we start a group? So that group now is not only meeting at the Judy Center, but they're also becoming a support system for each other and planning things outside of the Judy Center. And so we'll be offering that same thing at St. Leonard as well. We're always looking for new families. I don't call it stalking, but when I meet parents in the grocery store and they have a child, that is my in to you know, talk to them about the Judy Center and where they live and whether or not they might be eligible for services. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a quick one.
Sure.
Hi, Karen.
Hi,
So I'm going to leave it open-ended, and you can tell me one side or the other, but from your standpoint, and if this applies to anyone at the table, please feel free to chime in. With your situation being very related to the school system, but always kind of viewed as a little separate, are there any barriers when it comes to student safety, whether it's students in crisis or safety in your environment because of that? Or from the other side, do you feel like you have the same setup as what we have in the school system with additional resources?
well, our parents are always with their children in our settings, in our playgroup settings, but that gives me the opportunity to observe a child, and when I know they're going to pre-K, that's a moment for articulation.
Perfect.
So, and we're very open with each other, the school administration and myself, with sharing that information about children.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question, and this may actually go to any or all three of you. Are there any data about the long-term outcomes of these children that are going through these programs, and what impact it has on, you know, things like behavior, grades, things of that nature?
Well, the Judy Center does keep longitudinal data. Recently, we kind of changed the way that data is kept. So for a Judy Center family, we report the data if the family has had enough impactful experiences with us. So we don't even count a family unless they've had, by the 6-month period, if they have not had 6 impactful experiences with us, or by the end of the year 12, we can't even report those families. But we do keep data on who has been in the Judy Center And at the state level, they keep data on how those children fare on the KRA, and that news has been very, very good across the board. for
And you
Judy
want to
Center.
tell us what that is?
Well,
The KRA.
Kindergarten readiness assessment.
I know that last year, we were 46% ready. I know that, well, 2 years ago, we were 46% ready. Last year, we were also 46% ready. The data has not come out for this year, obviously. I'm farther away from the KRA data now that we're focusing on 0 to 4 not in school. But I know that we strive to give children and families a breadth of experiences. As Diana mentioned, you know, we're building at-home libraries. Every time a child comes to a Judy Center event, they get a book. We've also added other things that, you know, sometimes parents are not able to afford. Things like we now have a Tony Box library. So parents can check one of those out and check out the icons, you know, and have that experience with their child. You know, it's all, for us, it's all about having that breadth of experience and those meaningful experiences between parent and child.
Thank you.
I hope that answered your question.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of comments and a question.
Please go right ahead.
First of all, I thank you for being here and for telling us who Judy was. I'd wondered about that, and now that I know that it's Judy Hoyer, who I knew quite well, and her husband, obviously, and pleased to see this work is going on. So as I heard your presentation, and this is focused on school readiness, I go back to Goals 2000 that was voted into law back in 1994. And Goal 1 was every child in America would be ready for school, would be ready for kindergarten. And here we are 31 years later. And I don't know how much closer we are to that goal than we were 30 years ago. I think we're making some progress, but I'm hoping that at least here in Calvert County and in Maryland, we'll get closer to that. I think we are. I have a granddaughter, almost 2 years old, who is in the Judy Center catchment area.
Yes, and I am very, I heard that you visited us, and unfortunately I was not there, but we are
Yes.
looking forward.
Yes, they live in the neighborhood. That aside, my question is, with the Blueprint for Maryland, this is their first goal, right? Children will be ready for school, or for kindergarten. Do you see any barriers or any advantages as that blueprint continues to unfold?
Well, I know that with the blueprint, they will be adding 9 to 18 Judy Centers across the state of Maryland each year. I know that the work that we do in working with parents and working with children does make a difference. I'm sad that we will not have the opportunity to get more than 3 Judy Centers, because I truly believe that a Judy Center in the north would be beneficial. So our barriers are tied to the specifics of our grant and not being able to serve the entire county.
Thank you.
So Karen, I had a question. You said that the school readiness was 46%. Is that county or is that specific
County.
to?
That is county.
Do they break it down according to PAC?
I am not privy to that information.
But they do that. They do. Is
Michelle
that-
Ward would be able to give you all that information.
So that's something that you possibly could get us? Because I was wondering if
Or
it's.
Emily could. It'd probably be easier if Emily reached
Yeah.
out. Just 'cause
See, one of the things is as it relates to the work that we are charged with. Longitudinal data is critical for things, at least as I see it, things like graduation rates, grade retention, reporting of child abuse or domestic violence, percentage of children who are identified as needing special needs. What aside from readiness, from the kindergarten readiness assessment tool, family readiness, and the ability to move the child through the process is critical, I think, in this process. But having said that, and understanding that your data is limited, perhaps we should go to Head Start. And may I ask you, are you operating a Head Start program or an early Head Start program?
A Head Start program.
Okay.
Hi, hello, everyone. My name is Nadia Gray. I am the Head Start Education Specialist. I am stepping in for Teresa Booker, who is our Head Start coordinator. She is at a site doing an MSDE site visit, so she has the fun charge of that today. All right, a little bit about our Head Start program. So our program has a program for 3-year-old students, and we offer home visiting and center-based based on availability, slot availability, as well as community play groups. So we collaborate with these ladies with the HIPPY program, the Judy Center program for play groups, as well as our local libraries. The 4-year-old program introduces students to a school environment, and we provide a full day service to families. So Head Start, currently we are located at Sunderland Elementary. We have 2 classes, a 3-year-old class and a 4-year-old class. That's in the northern region of the county. Windy Hill Elementary in the northeast region of the county, and we have 1 4-year-old class from there. Barstow Elementary in the central region of the county, 1 Head Start Pre-K-4. That's what we're calling, that's what we are now, Head Start Pre-K-4. We have certified teachers in the Head Start Pre-K-4 classrooms. PAC also, and we're at the Peel campus. We have 2 classes. We have a 3-year-old class and a Head Start Pre-K-4 class, and that's in the southern region. And the Head Start Pre-K-4, that's new. That's new to us this upcoming school year. We haven't had certified teachers in the classroom, so we have our Head Start staff, our Head Start instructor, and we have a CCPS certified teacher in the classroom. So they are highly qualified staff. We also have a 3-year-old home visiting program, our HIPPY program. So the participants receive 90-minute weekly home visits with our Head Start home visitors. We provide curriculum, books, supplies, fun, easy activities for the parents to work with their children. We also do group socialization in the community, so that's a collaboration with our community partners. And the participation in the 3-year-old program will guarantee enrollment and for qualifying families in the 4-year-old program, but the child must be 3 by September 1st. And also meet the Head Start income requirement, so it is an income-based program. We can take 10% above income. Right, this is our 4-year-old program. This is our Head Start Pre-K-4 program. We are school-based Monday through Friday. The students receive everything that the typical pre-K classes receive, related arts. With Head Start, our students do not have to pay for any meals. So lunch, breakfast, snacks, everything's provided. No materials are requested from our Head Start pre-K students compared to the typical pre-K students. And to qualify, they must be 4 by September 1st. And they also must meet the Head Start income requirements. And families are offered before and after care through Calvert County Public Schools. All right, it looks like it's formatting error, but we also offer behavioral services. So we understand the need for behavioral services in the school. We work with the school counselors and all the staff in the school for any behavior issues, but we do have a specialized behavior specialist contracted from the health department, and she will come into the classroom. She works one-on-one with the students. She will contact families. She also works one-on-one with families as well. If the staff identifies that that child has a need, a behavioral concern, she also offers general behavior support for the entire class. We also have on board a contractor. Her name is Becky LeBeau. She is our parent coach. So if the parents if they need any help with parenting skills or any issues or challenges with raising children, we can also contact her. And we have used those services quite frequently. I know last year we have contracted out those services quite a bit. Per parents' request, after conferences with parents, and parents realize that there is an opportunity for some type of parenting, skill building. Parents, they're more likely to, when they know the service is available, they're more likely to reach out to us about the services. All right, and this is a Head Start scholarship. So in order to receive a Head Start scholarship, this family would have to prove income. So it is based on income eligibility. They would fill out the pre-K application as well as the Head Start application. So we would need the child's original birth certificate, proof of income, valid identification, immunization records, residency in Calvert County, if a student does have an IEP or any other special needs identified. We would also need that information. All right. And to register for Head Start, parents can register their child by contacting our main office, and the phone number is 443-550-8062. They can contact Teresa Booker, and also to fill out the pre-K application, they can contact Andrea Jones at the Board of Education. All right, and that is our address to our Head Start office. And that was short and sweet. Do you have any questions? And I will try to answer them to the best of my ability as the Head Start education specialist. And I do have our director's report if you would like me to pass this out, present the director's report. Would this information be valuable?
You can share it with Emily and she can circulate it. Aaron?
Yes, I had a question. How many students does one behavioral specialist serve?
Currently, our behavior specialist is serving 5 students. I don't know for sure if there is a cap to how many students. I think it's based on her availability for the county, because she also works in partnership with the Judy Center as well.
Okay, and how do you determine which children deserve those services? Well, deserves a long word, but which children get those services and which do not?
So our behavior specialist, she will offer strategies to the entire class, so tier 1 strategies, general behavior supports to the entire class, and that's given to the instructors, the teachers, and then they can implement those in the classroom. If there is a severe behavior that the teachers feel that may need more intervention, or if the parent identifies the behavior, because sometimes the parents will come to us and say like, okay, we're having this behavior and it's continuous. There could be a lot of aggression going on, so parents, they may ask for those services, or the teacher, her or himself, they can identify that student based on the need.
Help me understand a couple of things.
Yes.
All right, you have 7 or 8 classrooms?
We currently have 6 classrooms.
6,
Yes.
okay. And how many students in those classrooms?
Our current total is 120. We were grant funded for 142 last year, and we actually had 147 enrolled.
All right, so it's early, so you got
Yes,
120.
it's still early.
And so, all right, so you got 120 in a site-based operation. And in your home-based operation, what do you have?
The home visiting, currently we have 16 total home visiting and 6 home visiting students pending.
Okay. so you're at 22. And how many home visitors you have?
We currently have 4 home visitors.
Okay, okay.
So typically the
And-
caseload is around 11. We try to
Okay.
cap them at 11 or 12.
Okay, that's good,
students.
that's good for a home visitor, I mean, at 11 or 12. Okay. For now, any other questions, anyone else?
I
got?
have a question.
Yes.
One of the reasons why I really wanted you guys to share is that we were talking about, you know, children who have behavior problems,
Mhm.
families, working with families, and, one of the things that we saw that there's sometimes a disconnect with the parent and their relationship with the school, how to navigate the school system to get their needs met. And can you share some of the things you do to help families build that relationship with schools even before they have children who attend the schools?
Yes, definitely with our home visiting families. The families can come into the school system, especially if they're in the Judy Center catchment area. They're introduced to the school staff in the area. If the parents want to become familiar, our family resource workers or our home visitors, they explain the process and they'll help the parents, to go through the process of, any communication with the school. And we also connect them with other resources such as Child Find and infants and toddlers.
That's what I was gonna ask about Child Fund.
Yes.
Yeah, and you all do family nights within the school sometimes as well?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, and that really helps them to be introduced to the school and the staff
Yes.
as well.
And our home visiting students, they are invited to field trips with the Judy Center. So if the Judy Center has a field trip, we also invite our Head Start 3's home visiting students as well.
I brought this up earlier with student services at the school system, but for staff development field trip, I'd encourage you to go to Educare, Washington, D.C. Educare is at the core of Educare is a Head Start program, but it is what we like to call Head Start on steroids. It is privately supported. We developed the center in Washington. J.B. Pritzker, who's currently now the governor of Illinois, his foundation, Kellogg Cereal Foundation, and the Buffett Early Learning, Warren Buffett's Early Learning Foundation, put the core money up to build it and to set out the operation. But every teacher is a certified teacher. Every teacher, what the research says, and the Ounce of Prevention organization in Chicago has been running this for years, and they founded this whole concept. But what the research says is that the more challenged the student, the higher credentialed the teacher needs to be. And because of that, they have different kind of outcomes. Now, they also use very much the traditional parent engagement model in Head Start, which is very much a parent-driven model with technical support provided by Head Start. Just like the rest of the world, the last 20 years, they found a need for greater resources for behavioral support. Not unusual given what's happening in our society and what's happening in impacted communities, particularly those who live in concentrated poverty communities. You don't have concentrated poverty here. You might have 1 or 2 subdivisions where you have income-based residency, but for the large part, what I say particularly for our colleagues in the North, we need to be looking at different early childhood models, and I think some of our private vendors are looking at models that, I was around when we did the state licensing and state support and the rest, so, and in all fairness to you, I retired 6 years ago, but I did this for 45 years. I've seen this across the country, and I think that there are opportunities, and increasingly the public support is going to be driven by what we can say happened to those kids later. I mean, as an example, part of the EduCare model is, what do you look like in 5th grade? What do you look like in 7th grade? And so they intentionally track those kids that long, because the question that repeatedly comes up is there a point that the early investment wanes in a child's life? And the other thing that comes aside from that is that what they're also finding in their research, because they hire universities to follow these kids, what they're also finding in their research is that the stronger the parent engagement is earlier on, the longer it stays impactful, so that the children progress differently. And in fact, if they had to invest their money, they'd invest it in parents. and the children would become acclimated by parents as teachers, and the parent as an advocate throughout the learning process. But it'd be a good field trip. And if you need a contact me and I'll arrange it for you.
Okay, thank you for that information.
Any other questions? Thank you for sharing. Yes, Dr. Newsom, we remember Judy. We remember the first center in Cheverly. And in fact, I supported the legislation to create the first Judy Centers. And we were among the first 12. And so that's been a long time ago. I'm glad to hear that it's still going on. And I'm glad to hear that the number across the state is growing. And I hope, as part of the blueprint, that they're really looking at, as opposed to broad, how deep the centers are in terms of competencies and what we can expect from staff. So, thank you again.
Thank you
And
for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.
yes. And now Debbie can stop leaning on me. I appreciate that.
Thank you all. I got to work with Judy. That's my,
Yeah.
all myself, she's identified.
Yeah,
No, Greenbelt.
yeah.
I would love to have follow-up to find the data on school readiness for PAC. So we can get that.
I'm not sure that they do that anymore.
You don't think they do by
It's
school?
back.
It is back, okay,
Yes,
because there was a
it's-
period where they
it's
were
a
just.
brand, last year it was taken away.
Okay.
It was the only year that they didn't do it. But
Okay.
they did something else.
Okay.
This year it's back, but it's an entire new
System.
assessment.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
I think it's even a different company.
So Emily, that's
I'm
one
not
of the things
sure.
that we want further, information on
Because
the school readiness for PAC.
I know it used to be, Ready at 5 that would put out the reports.
Yes.
And it would be by school, and it would also state, were they a
She'll
Head
have it by
Start
school.
student? Were they,
Yeah.
you know, it would state
Yes,
whether
it had
they
a
were,
lot of subcategories,
It did.
yes. Head
Yeah.
Start,
all the different
yes,
care,
Yeah.
yes,
early care, which is
But-
important.
yes, it is.
I'm just challenged by the fact that with the cost of childcare and the number of centers that we have, that we only have a 46% readiness level. I mean, that in and of itself is,
Can I comment on that?
yeah,
Because Debbie trained me on the Maryland model for
Model
school
school
readiness,
readiness,
which was
right.
the initial
Yes.
Right.
model.
Right.
And at its height, we were at 76%, and actually maybe even into the
I
80s.
think
Now that I
even
think
higher,
about
yeah,
it, some of our
yeah.
schools were in the 80s.
Yeah,
So, when the model changed, the expectations changed, and that it's been probably about 7 or 8 years. Does that sound about right?
yeah.
So, it's to say, Yeah, like they changed the assessment, they changed the standards, and everyone is at the 40s and 30s. I mean, it's very low, that,
So did they change, did the standards become harder or higher?
apparently, yes.
Yeah.
So it's
Because
just
curriculum
interesting.
changed.
Well, yeah, I think the whole thing, when you go to when you make mandatory 5-year-old enrollment, there's an expectation, certainly from the taxpayer, that learning evolves more quickly. And so the expectation that the standard would be raised is natural, I think. So the question then is, how do you backfeed it in early development such that the child is ready when they come there? So it's a challenge, and that's why the Educare model starts at 6 months old. So that's why I was asking the young lady, do you run an early Head Start program, or do you run a Head Start program? Because as an example, with 5-year-old programs in the school system, the real question then is, why would, Head Start traditionally has been 3 to 5. You really don't need a 3 to 5 program. You need something that starts with children and families earlier, and you move it.
They were
Through.
competing with schools programs.
Yeah, so that's why, like, as an example, when I left DC, we had, 1,000 kids, but all of them were 0 to 3. Yeah. So,
And the demand is there for that.
yeah, yeah.
It is. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know about the income level qualifications,
Yeah.
but there's certainly families that don't have adequate childcare
Yeah.
for their infants. And
Mhm.
through
We applied for it here, the 0 to 3 early Head Start, but we didn't receive it
Mhm.
because of, again,
Yeah.
income.
That's why it took us so long to get Judy's
Yeah.
at St. Leonard.
Sure.
We've been trying for 3 years.
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting that our focus when we started school readiness was on Beach Elementary School was where our first Family Fun Festival was. You remember?
Yeah.
And the Head Start there was a part of that. And we had an early Head Start, I think. Was that right? I remember, Jen? I think that was during your era. Might have been.
No,
around
we
that
didn't have
time.
earlier Head Start
Okay.
during my era.
There was a goal, I think, to add Randall's kids
Yes.
to have an early Head Start there.
Yes.
But the focus was on that community, and we had it there for years. And
Yeah, but that community gentrified.
it
And one of the realities of this process, and one of the reasons why I said to folks, people speak in terms of gentrification on urban areas and areas that change. But quite honestly, from a once rural area, we had rural gentrification, where the incomes and the affordability levels just skyrocketed from the 90s on, to a point that if you're poor, you don't live here anymore. So that's a reality. The question was once asked, where do poor people in Calvert County live? And they said Lexington Park. So I think that's a reality of our numbers and the rest. So, ladies, we have been waiting and waiting and waiting, and so we have high expectations on what you're going to share with us.
We hope to meet them. Good afternoon, Student Safety Committee. Emily Shreve, staff liaison to the committee. I'm here with
Erin Lowe, Director of Communications and Media Relations.
And yes, we are here to present on the long-awaited community survey results. We hope we don't disappoint. So, some background for members of the public that may be tuning in. So, the committee has struggled to obtain formal public feedback on issues pertaining to student safety and wellness since the committee's inception. At your direction, questions were drafted in our 5 focus areas for safety and wellness, and they were voted on by you, and they were published as a survey by our Department of Communications and Media Relations. CMR published the survey and advertised it 2 times, once from June 17th to July 18th, and at the direction of the commissioners again in September for 2 weeks, around the first 2 weeks of school. And the idea to put this survey back out for the first 2 weeks was to get more student participation and teacher and support staff participation. Now that school's back in, hopefully we can, get your school minds and get your attention. So that was our goal of putting it back out. The parameters of the survey, I believe you all are familiar with, but to go over them again, There were several questions pertaining to the topics of safety, wellness, resources, and communications. And there were questions that had an optional field for answers in writing. Obviously, we cannot go through 900 times 20 questions of written answers, but today we are going to give you a high-level summary of what those questions, kind of what the general sentiments were in those questions. And there was an option to provide your name and your school affiliation so we can track what schools the respondents were affiliated with. We're happy to say that with the second putting out of the survey, we had 925 total participants, which felt like a lot of participation comparatively to what we had before. So I do want to also say, before we get into the demographics of the survey, when we put out the survey the second time, the aim was to get student participation and teacher and support staff. We asked the schools, school principals, to push it out to their school communities. Calvert High School in particular did a phenomenal job. Miss Young was wonderful. She set the bar high. We got a lot of responses from Calvert High, which you'll see. That does probably skew the results a bit of the survey. So if we're going through and you find that maybe Calvert High's impact is so great, which you'll see in a second, we may be able to send without Calvert High students in that mix, just so you can see the difference between who's filling it out. So to get to the demographics of the survey, we had originally in the first launch of the survey, only 8 students sent in a survey. Now we have 437, and the majority of those students are from Calvert High School. The parents and the community members, community members were 175. We had those a lot in the first round of the survey, so it was mostly their voices. And to get to the schools that submitted, obviously Calvert High School is really carrying the ball here at 471 responses. Just so you can understand the bar graph a bit better, we had 55 responses affiliated with Northern High School, 62 with Patuxent High, and 102 with Huntingtown. These could be students, community members, parents. This is just a catch-all, but mostly with Calvert High, it was students. So with all that being said, I want to pass it over to Erin Lowe to talk about all of the specific questions and the results.
But don't pass the clicker because I don't trust myself with that thing. So, okay. Good afternoon. We're starting with the most fundamental question today. How safe do families feel their children are when they walk into our schools? Most respondents said that they feel students are safe or very safe while at school. However, some schools had elevated concerns with a rating of unsafe or very unsafe. We also saw a meaningful percentage of neutral responses, which means that families might not be sure about the measures that we have in place. So while we believe that while most families trust school safety, there's an opportunity to increase both actual safety measures, but also public awareness to build confidence in that regard.
So did I understand, because you got to help us here.
Sure.
These
Can't see it.
Oh, okay, all right. So the red is safe. So that's 46.68% of people that responded believe that the schools are safe.
Blue is
Blue is very safe.
right.
Orange is neutral or unsure. Green is unsafe, and purple is very unsafe.
All right, so in this case, 72% of the people said that our schools are safe.
You're doing math a lot faster than I am, but yes. They voted for a positive outcome on that
All right, so
slide, yes.
okay.
All right,
What's the
so I can go
percentage of
through those
unsafe?
numbers.
The percentage of
Unsafe was 10.66 and very unsafe was 4.24.
so 14% think differently, and then we have the difference. Okay.
All right, but
All
I
right.
will read those numbers to you moving
All right.
forward. So on this slide, we talked about how effective CCPS is at creating a safe and supportive learning environment. So we've got effective is 41.47%, very effective 11.44%, and that is the red and the blue. The orange is neutral, which is 24.42, ineffective green 16%, and very ineffective is 6.49%.
Okay.
So most of the respondents, as you see, rated CCPS as effective or very effective, which is very encouraging. A smaller group rated CTPS as ineffective or very ineffective, so it showed some areas for improvement. Comments often reference the need for consistent behavior management and mental health resources. Green here, sorry, the question was about teacher and staff readiness to handle safety incidents. So yes is purple, that's 68.49%. No was green, and that's 31.51%. So most families said that they believe that staff are well prepared, which reflects positively on training efforts in the schools. Still, there's a portion who believe that there's still work to be done and they're uncertain, or they showed a bit of concern. So several of the open comments mentioned a need for ongoing training in de-escalation, mental health awareness, and emergency response protocols.
I do want to expand on, so throughout the data points, I'll be expanding a bit on the sentiments that were written in the survey, but I also want to highlight a couple of differences between the first survey batch and the second. So the responses here actually flipped upon receiving a lot of student comments. So prior to the second survey being released, it was 43% yes and 56% no, and that was based mostly on community member and parental feedback. So now that you have student feedback in this mix,
Jumped about 20%.
it is a bit different. So I do want to make that note, and I do want to go a little more in depth about, you know, and just expand on what Erin was saying about staff mental health. So respondents expressed concerns about staff burnout and impacting staff well-being and performance. Respondents claim that teachers and support staffs don't necessarily feel prepared to manage violent, disruptive, or crisis situations. And comments highlighted frustration with inconsistent consequences for student behavior. So I did want to just go into a little more depth with that. There were some great positive feedbacks about the safety drills, like the lockdowns, and how the schools employ the SROs. And then a few of the respondents particularly praised some de-escalation training, specifically UKERU. Our support staff and teachers in the room can probably talk a little more about that, and CPI training efforts. So that was some positive feedback that was given.
Okay, finally, in this section, we looked at whether families are aware of the training programs in place for crisis response and de-escalation. So on the left, question 4 was programs in place for staff. On the right is question 5, programs in place for students. Blue is yes, green is no. For staff, yes was the majority at 55%. Again, for students, yes was the majority for 55%. So awareness is relatively low, which could reflect a communication gap rather than a gap in the actual services themselves. Families, again, she mentioned a few training classes that people take in the school system. Families were aware and expressed appreciation for initiatives also for trainings like ALICE, PBIS, and restorative practices.
And I do want to highlight some flips for this one, these two as well. So for question 4 for the staff, in the original survey, 44% said yes and 55% said no. For question 5, it was originally 62% said no. So there is a bit of flip with that student feedback again.
So that was a question that only students could answer.
Just to clarify for the group, this is all
No,
the survey
all
results
all the
combined.
people answered.
So all the
There's one
people from
survey.
before plus a lot of new
So
students
going back
now.
to the one you just had,
Mhm.
when they talked about staff, so students could respond to that question about staff?
Yeah, so all these questions were open to anybody who completed the survey.
They're asking if they know about training that staff can take for
Okay.
those types of responses. And what Emily's mentioning is there was a very big difference when we took the second round of surveys, which included a number of responses for students specifically. It basically reversed the responses.
So question 6 is a qualitative question, so there's no numerical data to provide here, but I did just want to provide a general high-level overview of the sentiments for question 6. Do you have any general comments about student safety within your associate school? As you can imagine, this created a variety of different responses, but here are some high-level responses. So positively, some respondents praised dedicated staff, regular drills, and strong SRO presence in the schools, and they believe the efforts by law enforcement to create school safety visibility were beneficial. They also, some staff members also noted that they felt very supported by their administration and had a positive safety culture in their schools. Some feedback based on this question is circulating around training and preparedness. So some respondents claim that staff lack consistent training in crisis management and de-escalation. Some noted that training does exist but is not comprehensive or accessible to all staff, especially substitutes or support staff, which I think the committee has already kind of touched on in its efforts, so I find that interesting. Discipline and accountability. Many respondents stated that disruptive students face little accountability, leading to repeated safety issues and classroom disruptions. Some teachers express they feel disconnected with administration, so it really just depends on one's perception. But when managing student behavior and consequences are often delayed or unclear. And when it comes to communications, some respondents reported inconsistent communication with families after safety incidents or behavioral events.
Okay, the second section that we asked questions on was student safety or student well-being. So for this section, we'll begin by looking at the issue of vaping and how it affects the learning environment. Respondents shared that vaping has a noticeable impact on the school day, with some reporting it disrupts focus and creates disciplinary challenges. Comments indicated that vaping is not just a health concern, it can also affect the classroom climate and lead to lost instructional time. Some families expressed frustration that vaping is becoming more normalized among students.
And just to read the colors with the numbers here. So,
I'm sorry.
you're okay.
Yeah.
Slightly impacted is that teal green color you see. It is 47%. The blue purple color is not impacted. That's 28%. And yellow is extremely impacted at 23%. So you can say that the majority of those who took the survey feel that the academic experience is impacted in some degree by vaping.
All right, for this one, the big category is neutral. That's 41%. That's the yellow. The green is ineffective, which is 21%. The red is effective, 16%. Purple, very ineffective, 12%. And blue is very effective, 7%.
You know, that question's almost, never mind, this is, I realize that we're living in a day and age that school systems are supposed to raise our kids, so just go right ahead.
I understand.
I mean, we don't sell vaping products at Calvert County Public School Systems.
We asked families how effective they feel CCPS is at deterring vaping on school grounds, and responses were mixed, as you can see, with many indicating that current deterrence efforts are somewhat effective. And I want to highlight that vaping across the entire survey was one of the most frequently mentioned quote-unquote issues, so focus is definitely needed in this area. Families called for preventative education rather than punishment alone.
And just to expand a little bit on the written responses, respondents claimed that the vape detectors and alarms are installed, and that has definitely been a step forward in enforcement. But there are some respondents that claim that alarms are not always addressed. Respondents stated that staff feel that they may be unable to intervene unless a vape is caught in the act, like you can actually see it. And I will say this metric is slightly better. It's not a significant difference with the student feedback, but it wasn't significant enough that I don't have the metrics from the first survey, but just slightly better.
Okay, to build further on that question, we asked for ideas on what should be done on a larger scale to address vaping. Common suggestions included increased supervision in the restrooms and common areas, educational campaigns on health risks, parent engagement to address vaping at home, and support programs for students struggling with nicotine addiction, which I know that the group has spoken about all of these topics.
And the other category, which takes up 8% of respondents, those who selected other generally emphasized a combination of all of the options, including stricter laws and more parental accountability.
So stricter penalties is the green, that's 30%. The yellow is greater enforcement at 21%. Red is more vape detectors, 13%, and so on. Okay, bullying is another key area that we explored. Across the county, most respondents reported that bullying is a present issue at their school. Families highlighted the need for consistent prevention programs and timely follow-up when incidents are reported. This one shows, question 10, blue, 62% said yes, that they believe that bullying is present at their school. And question 11 says, if yes, say what types. And verbal bullying is the #1 answer there.
What's the last one there?
It's other. And those who specified other generally emphasized either sexual harassment or targeted bullying against specific groups. And I do want to highlight a difference on question 10 between the first round of the survey and the second. In the first round of the survey, which again the majority were parents or community members, 87% said yes and 13% said no. So these numbers are significantly different and perhaps improved from the first round.
Yeah, another 20% jump.
That's interesting, because if you did a statistical analysis based upon what you just said, then the student response to bullying is closer to 30%.
Yeah, we found that very interesting.
Or less. Okay,
And-
which is inconsistent with the information that Student Services gave us.
Exactly.
And again, there was one school that overwhelmingly provided data, so that doesn't
Yeah.
mean it's the same across the entire jurisdiction,
Mhm.
which is a limitation, unfortunately, of what we have here, but
But
Can I-
everybody had the same opportunity.
yes.
Can I just mention to that, though, I do think it's important that we recognize before any of us ever got here, when this committee first began, it was partially, we'll say, maybe mostly, over issues happening at Calvert High School.
Yeah.
And so I think it's
exactly.
really important that we have this, that one school is the one who stepped up, so I think this data is really important for us.
Oh, I think absolutely, and even more so, to recognize the fact that the school system got a handle on the Calvert High situation, and that there's been clearly a turnaround based upon this data.
Okay. Next, we asked about systems and protocols for addressing student behavior. Many respondents believe that protocols exist, but there were mixed reviews on how consistently they are applied. Some families expressed concern that consequences are not always enforced fairly or promptly. There were requests for more communication when incidents occur, so parents feel more informed and involved.
And to highlight some of the written responses, respondents claimed discipline is often ineffective or inconsistently applied, resulting in repeated misbehavior or ongoing bullying. Respondents claimed consequences for behavioral issues are too lenient and that stronger, more consistent enforcement with parental accountability is needed, and that the current protocols may not adequately address individual student needs and mental health. And want to highlight another flip from the first to the second round of the survey. In the first round of the survey, 29% said yes and 70% said no.
We also asked about mental health resources available for students. The responses were divided. Many felt resources exist, but availability can be limited and demand is very high. Families asked for more school counselors, social workers, and partnerships with mental health providers. Several comments stressed the importance of early intervention before issues escalate.
And a flip on this question in the original round, 40% said yes and 59% said no.
Okay.
And some written responses, many responses claim there's not enough school-based mental health professionals and existing staff are overextended or unable to meet demand. And I thought this one was particularly interesting and not one maybe the committee had heard yet. Several comments indicated confusion or concern over the role of school counselors with claims that they focus more on academics rather than mental health. So that, I found that to be an interesting written response.
I think what you're also hearing in that is a switch in what's expected from schools.
Yeah.
Because before, you wanted your kid to go see the counselor so they could get into a good school or make sure they fill out their applications on time and the rest. Today, I have a different question though, for my colleague at the health department. With the Affordable Care Act enacted in '09, I think it was, if you have health insurance, was it not required that you would also be covered for mental health?
That's correct. Mental health is covered under the Affordable Care Act, but there's also plenty of other measures that even if someone is uninsured, that there's the availability of those services.
So the question, I think that a larger question is, how much of that becomes parental and community responsibility and how much of it is school responsibility? Because at some point, somebody's going to ask us one day, are the children learning? And when I look at this, and this survey is telling in a lot of ways, but I think the thing that's telling to me as a taxpayer even more so is the fact that there was a time when this was the third rated school system in the state of Maryland, that our elementary schools were #1 in the state of Maryland. That doesn't exist anymore. And at some point, what is it that we want from our school system? But it's always, let me just say this, nationally, it has always been the top priority that children are safe. That's been the top priority. I don't care where you go in this country, that's always been the top priority, and we agree that children must be safe. But the ancillary support process has to be taken into consideration with affordability, resources, and what is the primary mission of the school.
And some of the respondents also highlighted in talking about the school system and the community about out-of-school psychologists in this network in the county.
Mm-hmm.
And they said while it was a great resource and referral, there's just such a shortage, which we all know here and we've all talked about already. And there's wait lists and long delays and maybe some inconsistent follow-up. So I think that obviously skews more towards a general community problem, but it's still probably impactful on the data that you see here. And then one other thing that I wanted to highlight in the written responses was there was a perception that these services might be reactive rather than proactive and only activated during times of crises, which would make sense given the shortages that so it's all circular, but yeah. So
Okay, finally, we asked about the physical environment, the condition of the classrooms, restrooms, hallways, and outdoor areas. Most respondents rated facilities as good, which is really, really great. That's the red part there, that is 44%. A smaller group rated the facilities as needing improvement or poor, particularly mentioning restrooms, potential mold, and aging infrastructure with specific call-outs to HVACs and leaking. Facilities impact not only safety but also student pride and morale, so it just guided us to consider capital improvement priorities and ensure facility support is a priority moving forward.
And my apologies, there is a question 15, but it did not make the slide cut. But the question is, do you have any general comments about student well-being within your associated school or CCPS? And most respondents, as you would expect, pointed back to vaping. There were some students that have mentioned concerns regarding the bathrooms, which we again have already talked about as a committee. The parental involvement, which has been another big theme of the committee, was also highlighted when it comes to student wellness and been a big theme here. Mental health, and then of course tying back into the safety component, just the consistent enforcement of behavior was also a theme in student wellness too. Oh, look, there's question 15 in the wrong section.
Yeah, that's all right.
That's all right, we're gonna keep it rolling.
Yep.
Okay, on this slide, you're gonna see questions about the Calvert County Public Schools Code of Conduct, asking whether or not people know where it is and whether or not it is straightforward and engaging. We also asked people if they were aware of support resources in the community. People stated they were able to access the code, but they were even on whether or not they felt that it was straightforward or engaging. For resources, we're going to start with how families are receiving information about local resources and support services. The most common sources reported were school communications, which includes newsletters, websites, and emails, and then word of mouth. Many families also rely on social media and search engines, meaning the online presence is critical. A smaller percentage uses community sources like churches, libraries, and local government websites, suggesting an opportunity to partner with community hubs more. Okay. We also asked about barriers families face in participating school and community activities. The most common barriers were scheduling conflicts with work and childcare and a lack of awareness about available opportunities. They also cited transportation challenges and financial constraints as obstacles. Some respondents mentioned a need for age-appropriate activities and programs that meet various needs, such as accommodations for students with disabilities or language support. Finally, we asked what schools and CCPS could be doing better to engage families. The top suggestions included more frequent updates via email, text, and social media, evening and weekend events to accommodate working families, opportunities for parent input, volunteering, and community involvement, and families also requested workshops on topics like homework help, school systems, and mental health. That is it. What questions do you have?
Or rather, dialogue.
Yeah, that, what she said.
I do want to say, since there wasn't an immediate jump on that, just seeing and looking so thoroughly at the results and knowing what the consistent themes of the committee has been, it seems like the committee has been moving in a very good direction and very aligned with what the community sentiment is. I mean, the common themes that have been discussed here are reflected in the survey, which means I think the committee has been spot on so far about its work and its focus. So I think that's a positive thing in itself.
Big kudos.
Yeah, I just, you know, the last slide raises an issue for me
That's an important slide too.
that I think is important. Because we do need to engage families differently. And we do need to, our systems for communications have to evolve to be effective for 2 working parent households. I don't know that our current systems for doing and how we communicate with them and when we're available for them works, simply because of our transportation issues here. And the fact that, you know, perhaps somebody in the county can tell me, what percentage of our workforce or the people employed in Calvert County work elsewhere, outside of the county? It's probably, when I used to track that stuff, it was in the 70 percentile. I don't know what it is now. But having said that, you know, this is an area that I do believe that needs further attention. Because I think at the core of this question is the answers to the other questions that people don't know, don't understand. And that is, how do we access the information? How do we come to a better understanding of what's taking place? And I think that these are telling numbers that may really address the other pieces in some ways that we haven't discussed at this point. How do we communicate with our families? When are we available for communication with our families? And how can we do a better job with that?
Can I just mention one thing, and then I'll let him chime in if he wants to, but I think this is something that Dr. Newsom has already started to recognize, and I'll just mention that from a staff and community standpoint, I've already received more communication this year from CCPS than I think I have in the last 10 years combined. So I'll let him chime in if he wants to, but I think that's something that's already being addressed as a weakness. We still have a long way to go, obviously, but I go ahead if you want to take.
No, you can keep talking.
You're winning. You're winning. Keep quiet. Yeah.
I want to thank you for the presentation, and Emily, especially for your persistence in making sure that we were diligent in trying to get as many people as possible to respond, and both of your presentations were very helpful to me. This is the most helpful slide to me. It is, how can we engage our community to become better partners? As we look at tragedies around the country, it seems that tragedies are what brings people to a call to action. We see a lot of complacency here because we haven't had that type of issue to the extent that we've seen them in other places. And my hope is that we can help people understand that if we start to engage better, then we have a better opportunity to prevent those types of tragedies from happening here. But I'm very encouraged by this slide because I think that there's a lot that we can do based on this feedback. My last comment is, if you should do this again next year or anytime in the future, doing it at the same time of year would provide the best matrix for you to determine growth.
Agreed.
Because if you gave this in May, you probably have a different outcome.
So it was discussed in our internal team. So obviously the goal of the committee is to create also long-term recommendations and be able to get results past the lifespan of the actual meetings that we have. And so we have discussed potentially administering the survey for the next few years at the beginning and end of the school year, just as a temperature check going forward of how the recommendations are implemented and just the health of the school system. So if you have anything you want to add?
No, I want to thank you for the staff support with the survey and for following up and assuring, and we thank the commissioners as well for assuring that we had greater student engagement in the process and sending it out the second time. But it's important for us, again, I can't overemphasize that this is a partnership arrangement. All of it is a partnership arrangement. You know, somebody years ago decided that they would put on my tax bill the percentage of my money that went to Calvert County Public School Systems. And I don't feel bad about that, okay? I don't feel bad about the percentage of money that goes to the public school systems. What I am challenged by, and what I hear challenges in the general community about, is what the expectations are, and as much as we have evolved or radically changed as a community, how is that really internalized and becomes a part of the institutional response from the school system. That's the real challenge. Because I think we would be remiss not to understand the depth of what's being offered there. And it keeps being added to. So the real question gets to be, who, at what point does it reach a breaking point? And how do we move in such a way that we don't become crisis-driven? Any other comments or questions?
I did have a question. So are the results of the survey gonna be made publicly available, or at least the slides to the general public?
We've made the slides public during this meeting.
Okay. And where's that?
It's on the Student Safety and Wellbeing Committee webpage
Website,
on the
yeah.
county
Perfect.
government website.
Thank you.
Is it /SWAC?
Yes, calvertcountymd.gov/SSWAC. And also, this presentation will obviously be publicly available via YouTube, the Calvert County government website, and the slide file will be on the website as well.
And we're also putting out a press release to announce that these results are available for the public.
Thank you so much.
Is there any, I don't want to add more work, so have you already done this? And if so, then that'd be great. If not, we can talk about it. Is any of this data available broken down by the subgroups so we could see specifically how teachers, support staff answered these questions?
Click the button, so just let us know what you want.
Okay, perfect.
We can send that out to the group via email.
That'd be great.
Okay,
Thank you all.
thank you.
Thank you, good work.
Could you please check, Emily, to see if we have any public comments
1 moment,
online?
please.
Let's do that.
Mr. Chair, there's nobody in the room and nobody online for public comment.
Okay, then. That being the case, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
My second.
Probably moved and second. Any need for conversations, discussions? Thank you. The meeting's adjourned.